it's Shel C from PaperOcotilloStudio, and today I am sharing with you days 8, 9, and 10 of the Artist Trading Card a Day Challenge, which is offered to you by myself and Peg Robinson in Pick a Stick Challenge and Art Joy of Sharing Facebook groups. And the challenge is simple. Just make an artist trading card a day all the month of June and post it in any social media using the hashtag ATCAday2018. I'm posting mine on Instagram as well as the groups, and then also making these little videos of 3 at a time so you can watch the process. The first one here, that is day 8, I was on the live stream channel, Art Joy of Sharing live stream, which is our other channel, and every Thursday we do a live show, and I was working on the theme Starbright. I think that was what it was called. Anyway, I will link that live show in the iCard above, if I remember, or at the end screen. So I was working with the idea of using stars because that whole show is just about using different star shapes. And I knew I wanted to make an art journal page, so I was making a tag. And while I made the tag to go on the art journal page, I also made my ATC. So I've got both of them going here, and I know that's a little bit confusing, but I started out with collage. These are just papers from my scrap bin that I haven't put the stuff away, and I was going for teals and blues, dark blue, and I put the collage on, and then now I'm unifying the collage using my fingers and a little bit of Dina Wakley paints and even a Dina Wakley scribble stick in the color Night, and I just blend with my fingers, you know. Then I have this Dina Wakley stencil that's got a stencil and a mask, and I know this jumps around because there's 2 of us in the show, so we go to Peg, we go to me, we go to Peg, we go to me. So it's not cohesive. But I put the mask down, drew around the star, then I made the star come out from the background by using again that night colored paint, which is a very dark blue, and painting around the outside of the star, pushing back the background, so kind of covering up the background. And I left this part about the tag in so that you could see the process of what I did. I used copper this time, but putting the star shape on and then pushing back the background by using the darker color paint. So I do have a Stabilo All pencil there. I did draw around the star with a Stabilo All pencil. I'm talking about the fact that mask, that stencil came with a mask and a stencil, and the difference between what a stencil and a mask is. But here's the same process. Making the star come out by pushing the background. Some people call it negative painting. I always call it, what do I call it? I can't remember right now. It's very early in the morning and I'm trying to get this video up. So then to finish off my ATC, I added some of the stickers from the Tim Holtz book, the little tiny chat book that has all the little stickers in it. I'm using a lot of those for my ATCs this month because they're just the perfect size. And I put the stickers on, I shadowed around them a little bit. I put some little shiny star stickers that I have left over from another project on there. Shadowed those a bit. I think I went around the edges with some dark ink. Yep, there we go. And then that ATC was done for day 8. So you can see I also finished the tag as well, which I wrote with my own handwriting. Horrors. So day 9, I have this illustration. This is from, I don't know, last summer or the summer before. I made several illustrations for the family reunion that I went to in Idaho. And this is one of the ones that's been sitting around. I've I've left it sitting around in the box. Um, it's been scanned and used as digital art now on the t-shirts and the different stuff that we had for the family reunion. And I wanted to put it on my ATC, but I thought it was kind of big. And of course, I could redraw it. That's not a problem. I drew this in the first place. I could certainly redraw it again, but I thought, how about we have some fun with shrink plastic? Now, I prefer the white canvas shrink plastic most of the time, but in this case, I wanted to trace over my illustration, so I needed something I could see through. So this is the translucent shrink plastic, and I sanded it to give it tooth so that I can color on it. And then I'm tracing around all the lines from my little illustration using my Faber-Castell illustration pens. These are India ink, and so they can draw on there. If you don't have these, you can use a Sharpie, because a Sharpie is a solvent-based ink, not the water-based ones, but the other ones. They work really well on shrink plastic. So that's always a possibility. So I drew around it with a size small bullet tip, and then I'm planning on coloring it with these Prismacolor pencils, which I never use. As you can see, they're like not even, I don't think I've used them once, and I've had them for a couple years. But I decided I wanted to vary the line weight, which is something that you do in illustration to make it more interesting. So I got out the chisel tip pen, and I'm just darkening in some areas and making some of the lines heavier and thicker. In hindsight, because of the way this shrunk down, maybe I didn't want those heavier, blacker lines. I'm not sure, but that is something that you have to consider when you're using shrink plastic, that anything that you put on there is going to be darker when it's shrunk, because it's going to shrink down. So I was using light colors with the idea that when that shrink plastic condensed the color, it would be darker. So it's hard to see the colors I'm putting on there because I was giving it a light hand with that consideration. I could have probably colored this with alcohol markers, and maybe I should have. That might have been kind of fun. I think the alcohol markers would disturb the India ink, though, in this case, because it's on a plastic. There's nothing for the ink to absorb into on a plastic. So those are all considerations that you have to have. And I was just having fun coloring, this very light colorway that I thought would condense and shrink down and be brighter. And like I said before, I'm used to using the white, so this didn't come out exactly as I wanted, actually. I have to cut it out, and I'm gonna not gonna force you to watch that. But I cut it all out, and then I'm using a heat tool, the kind that you use for embossing, to shrink this. And whenever you do this, it freaks you out because you think, oh my gosh, I just spent all that time working on this thing and I have ruined it. But it always flattens back out, and I usually put an acrylic block, a stamp block over it to make sure it's purely flat. It was dull looking, and so I thought maybe if I put some white on the back, because it is translucent, then it'll brighten up the colors. So I'm just putting on a little bit of white gesso on the back to try to brighten up the colors, but they're still dark. They're still dull. So I decided to just come in and color again with the colors straight on the shrunk plastic. That's always an option. You could shrink it first and then color it if you wanted to. But it's just, it's fun to play with. It's something different than what you normally are doing, and there's a lot of things you can do with it. You can make jewelry out of it and stuff like that, and little charms to hang off the ends of your art journal books, and all kinds of fun stuff. It's something that's you can have a really good time playing with it. So I just wasn't happy with how dark it was. So I decided to come in with my white Posca pen, which is an acrylic white fine point pen, and just make some little dots and highlights and things to try to brighten it up. I think I used the wrong colors. I'm not sure. I'm just not really sure why I don't like it. I just don't. And I, in the end, decide to put, I don't know when I do it. No, not yet. I guess I decided to draw my background next, which is just a tree branch in a very similar style to my original illustration. Just making some kind of loose tree branches and then giving them a lot of visual texture, uh, kind of, tree bark, uh, I don't know, wood grain, I guess it's what it is. Wood grain is what it is, yeah. Um, to give it more visual weight. And then I draw a few little leaves on there. It's almost exactly like my original illustration that you saw at the very beginning. I'll also link, I do have an art journal page where I used one of my illustrations from this project on my art journal page, and I'll try to remember to link that too in the iCard above. Um, I don't know if I remember or not, but here's where I take some of this stuff. It's like glossy accents, and you can use it to make a clear, shiny, kind of a resin-like coat over shrink plastic. And so I did that to try to brighten up the colors too, because you're putting a gloss on there. It should kind of bring out the color a little bit. Then I go ahead and draw the black lines in on my illustration using a couple different size pens to vary the line weight, like we were talking about earlier. These are still my Faber-Castell India ink pens, the pet pens from Faber-Castell. I just love these. I love these pens. I use them for all my illustration needs, plus a lot of other different stuff. And then to add color, I'm using my Koi Travel watercolor palette. And I spritz that beforehand to give it a little bit of moisture. And then I'm just using a water tank brush. This is Arteza water tank brush. I have a set of these and I'm really happy with them because they have this squeezy button in the middle that you can very easily get the water to come out to the tip. On the ones where you are squeezing the whole barrel, like the Pentel ones and stuff like that, I don't think I have as much control of the water as I do with these. I just really like that red area in the middle, which is like this little button thing. So I'm happy with these. I got them off of Amazon, and I didn't get them directly from the Arteza site. I got them. Arteza sells through Amazon. It's weird. It's like they have their own site, but then they also sell through Amazon too. So I guess they have an Amazon store. I don't know. But anyway, I like them. It was a set that had a lot of different tips. So there's some flat brush tips and some very small pointy tips and some bigger pointy tips. So I use kind of a medium tone blue and then a darker blue right around the areas that are right next to the illustration lines to just it's meant to be a night sky. But you don't want it all one color. When you're using watercolor, you want to have some variation of color because it's boring if it's all one color. So then I color the tree by starting out with kind of a rusty color and then coming back in with some darker browns to make it more interesting. And then I think I used 2 different colors of green on the leaves as well, just to make it visually interesting. These watercolor pans are very highly pigmented. I like them. They, it's not the most expensive, most fanciest watercolor, but it's very, very good for what I need, not being a professional watercolorist. They all come in one little set, and there's enough color there that you can blend whatever color you want. It comes with a little blending tray, so they're probably my favorite choice. I do have liquid watercolors too, which are very intense. which I think I've used on some of these cards so far this month. But I'm going on a trip soon, and I'll probably take this travel kit with me. That's the other thing that's nice. It's compact. It's small enough that you can take, and it comes with a little brush, a little water tank brush too. So, not that I remember where that one is. It's like a folding one or something, and I don't actually know where it is at this point. So it also has a white, which is kind of like a gouache. It's an opaque white watercolor. And I use that to kind of highlight some stuff and also to make some splatters because there's supposed to be stars in the background. Go around the edges with a black ink to frame it in, and then all that's left is to glue my little owl guy on there. And I just use that same Mod Podge Dimensional Magic stuff. Then I put a sticker on there, and same Tim Holtz stickers. Trimmed it apart so that I could fit it on there. It was one long sentence. And there you have it. I probably put some shadows, just lines around the stickers. I like to have a border around the stickers. It makes them stand out more. So that is day 9? Day 9, I think. I wish the owl was brighter. That's all I wish. So for day 10, I decided I just wanted to do something real abstract. And so I decided to start with this piece of packaging that I cut into the correct size. It's not even watercolor paper. It's just a piece of the back of something, some package. And I plan to do collage. So I'm just getting out little pieces of stuff that are in the bottom of my big scrap bin here. I'm just pulling out like all the little stuff. Probably not all of it, but some of the little stuff that was in the bottom of the bin, knowing that I'm going to do an abstract collage. And I also have, I went to a club last night to go to see a band, and I found that, well, actually my companion who was with me found this sparkly earring on the ground. And so I'm going to use that too because it's very sparkly. And what can you do with the one earring? I tried to find the girl that it belonged to. Obviously, she was dancing or something, and I couldn't find anyone with the other earring. So I just kept it, and I'm going to use that. So I'm starting out with neutral colors, pieces of book text, and scraps of this tissue paper that I have that has music and different stuff on it. Just little pieces. These are just the scraps that were left over from other projects. Like that one's even been cut around that one right there. I don't know what it was, but I mean these are tiny little pieces, and ATC is only 3.5 by 2.5, so you don't need any large pieces really, unless you're planning on covering the entire thing. So I'm just putting the neutral colors on first, giving me a shape. Like it's kind of the 1/3, 2/3 things going horizontally and vertically, which draws your eye to a certain spot on the composition. Your eye wants to go right to that certain spot, which is going to be where the focal area is. And I put this red piece of grosgrain ribbon that was a scrap in the box, and then this little punched out flower that's red. And now you can see where the focal area of the composition is. If you're going to make a collage, or if you're going to even, if you're going to make any kind of abstract, even though it's abstract, it's not just a bunch of junk stuck on there. It still has a process that you need to think about so that it becomes something that someone wants to look at. Because otherwise, it's just a bunch of stuff stuck to something. And that's not pleasing to the eye, particularly. So there was this little set of cutout eyes. I don't know what they're from. I must have been doing a magazine collage, maybe one of those ones where you take different pieces of magazine images and put them together. And for some reason, I didn't like those eyes, and so I just threw them in the bucket, and there they are. And they actually worked really well on this card. I was excited when I found them. So this is the sparkly little earring that uh, I have, and I'm cutting it apart using some wire cutters. This isn't a fancy, expensive thing. This is costume jewelry. If it was made out of silver or whatever, I might be more concerned about cutting it apart, but I just have this one earring, and to me, it's just recyclable junk. So I'm cutting apart all the rings are stuck together, and it was, I don't know, it was harder to disassemble than I expected. But I like the sparkly hammered metal look of it. So it's really adding to my composition, I think. So then I thought about how am I going to attach this to the card, and I decided to use staples using this Tim Holtz Tiny Attacher, which has tiny little staples, and use those, which also kind of adds an extra metallic uh, element, which is now straight as opposed to spherical. So I'm getting two different shapes in my metallic, if you know what I mean. I could have glued these on with that Mod Podge Dimensional Magic. It would have taken it a long time to dry, but it could have been done. But I thought this was interesting, and so I did it this way. So as I'm stapling them, then I'm turning the card over and pressing down the pointy little things. And I will also glue something to the back of that to cover those up, because I don't want anyone who might receive this ATC in the future to be stabbed. Also, I'm allowing the spheres to go off the edge of the composition, which I think is, I like things to go off the edge like that when it's abstract. So I trim those edges off with the wire cutters as well. And then I have some sparkly gems that I stick on there. And I put some sparkly glue, glitter glue stuff in her eyes, which makes them look really almost like those. You've seen like a drawing of an eye that has the universe inside of it. It kind of reminds me of that. And then I pick a word sticker and trim it down as close as it can get. And then just adding some shadows around my word sticker, around some of the other areas of just using the Stabilo All pencil and blending it with the water tank brush. So I hope you've enjoyed these cards. Please leave me a thumbs up, give me a comment, or whatever down below. You people who've been watching know that I'm rebuilding my channel because of something that happened with YouTube, breaking my channel and everything. So please remember to do those things for me so that I can try to build my momentum back up. Thanks. That's it for me. Bye-bye.